Have you ever felt like a standard dose of medicine is kind of just a shot in the dark? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on the science of personalized medicine. We're going to see how doctors are moving from average to amazingly precise to find the perfect dose just for you. Let's dive in.
So let's start with a question you've probably wondered about. Why is it that you and a friend can take the exact same medicine at the exact same dose and have totally different experiences? One of you feels great, the other feels, well, nothing. Or even worse, gets all the side effects. What is going on there?
The answer, and it's not super surprising, is that none of us are average. We all have our own unique biology, right? Our metabolism, our genetics, our overall health, it's all different. So that standard dose you see on the bottle, it's really just an educated guess. It's a starting point designed for some theoretical average person who doesn't really exist.
Okay, so if a standard dose is just a starting point, how do doctors get more specific? Well, the first step is to stop guessing and start measuring. You've got to look at what the drug is actually doing inside your body, inside your blood.
And this brings us to the core idea for today: therapeutic drug monitoring, or TDM for short. And it is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. Instead of just hoping for the best, doctors can take a blood sample and measure the exact amount of a drug that's in your system. It's an incredibly powerful way to move beyond the average and tailor a prescription specifically to you.
And this right here is the whole point. The goal isn't just to get a number from a lab. The goal is to individualize your treatment, to make it work perfectly for you. It's all about making sure you get the maximum possible benefit from a medicine with the minimum possible risk. The focus is 100% on the patient.
So how does this actually work? Well, it's a really logical four-step process. First, you have to measure the drug level at exactly the right time. Then you take that number and combine it with everything we know about the drug itself, how it works, how it's processed. Then you factor in your personal health profile. Finally, the doctor takes all of that information, puts it together, and fine-tunes the dose. It's a perfect mix of hard data and clinical expertise.
Now, what's really cool is that this whole idea of monitoring has been evolving. The entire philosophy has made a huge shift from just aiming for a general area to hitting a very specific, precise target. See, for a long time, the goal was to get a patient's drug levels into something called the therapeutic range. You could think of this like a big, wide window. As long as your levels were somewhere inside that window, it was considered a win. It works for most people, sure, but it's not exactly precise, is it? And this range approach, well, it has some problems. For one, it leaves doctors with a lot of uncertainty. I mean, where in that big window should they be aiming? The high end? The low end? And it also kind of assumes that any level inside that window is just as good as any other, which we now know just isn't true. So thankfully, medicine has gotten a lot smarter. Instead of just aiming for that wide barn door, the goal now is something called target concentration intervention.
And this slide really shows you the evolution in a nutshell. We're moving away from that wide, vague window and toward a specific, optimized bullseye, just for you. It's not about being somewhere in the range anymore. It's about finding the one single concentration that leads directly to the perfect dose for your body.
And that target is picked very, very carefully. The whole idea is to find that perfect sweet spot, the exact concentration that gives you all of the good effects of the drug while dialing down any of the potential bad ones. It is all about achieving that perfect balance.
Now, this all sounds pretty intense, but is it something we need for every single medication out there? Not even close. So let's take a look at when this level of precision really, truly matters.
TDM is absolutely critical for certain kinds of drugs. We're talking about medications like lithium, for instance, where the line between a helpful dose and a harmful one is incredibly thin. It's also essential for drugs where it's hard to predict how your body will react, or for ones where just a tiny change in dose can cause a massive change in the effect. But on the flip side, we definitely don't need to do this for everything. Think about drugs with a really wide margin of safety, where you'd have to take a lot to get into trouble. Or for medicines whose effects are super easy to measure in other ways, like blood thinners. For those, this kind of intensive monitoring just isn't necessary. So let's zoom out one last time. What is the end game here? What is the ultimate goal of all this measuring and targeting? Well, it points to the very future of how we approach medicine. At the end of the day, therapeutic drug monitoring and target concentration intervention are way more than just lab techniques. They really represent a fundamental shift in thinking,
a move away from one-size-fits-all healthcare and toward a future of truly personalized medicine that's designed for your specific, unique biology.
I think this phrase just says it all, doesn't it? This is the philosophy that's driving this entire field. It's not just about giving out medicine. It's about giving the exact right dose to the right person at the exact right time.
And that leaves us with a really fascinating question to chew on. As our ability to measure and personalize these treatments gets better and better, are we heading for a future where the whole idea of a standard dose just seems completely obsolete? What do you think?